That's coming back. I mean, you know that because LeBron is back now. that's the official statement there. So, Mr. Joyce, Galway University, we welcome you to our panel this morning and look forward to hearing your discussion.
Thank you very much, and good morning. It's nice to look out on some friendly faces. I've been coming to the Mayo Society in Cleveland for a number of years, and this morning I'm a late substitute for our president, Dr. Jim Brown, due to a diary mismanagement issue by somebody isn't here. Having said that, I'm delighted to be here and to reflect back on some of the comments of my three colleagues here in terms of perhaps reflecting on how the system in Ireland and the universities in Ireland differ from the US and Cleveland in particular. I'm delighted to share a platform with Jean Collard here, with whom I've worked for a couple of years in helping to set up the student exchange between John Carroll University and NUI Galway. And following a visit by myself and our president, Jim Brown, here 2 years ago, we started a student exchange program with the College of Nursing in Case Western. So we're very interested in continuing to grow those kind of relationships. Reflecting on something Deirdre said about the origins of the university in Galway, it was set up in 1845 as Queen's College Galway. And one of, as Deirdre said, then 4 Queen's Colleges in Ireland. And it's also interesting in the context of Jean's reflection on the role of religion in education, that when the Queen's Colleges were set up, they were in post-famine Ireland, and they were deemed to be non-denominational. So Queen's College Galway was set up in 1845, and it was to be non-denominational. The local bishops, Catholic bishops, got together, decided it was that they would not allow a godless college. So up until 1907, Catholics were banned, not by the state or by the authorities, but by their bishops from attending, because this is one of the great myths, that Catholics weren't allowed in. Of course they were allowed in, but in those days you listened to the bishop first. So until for the first 60 years almost, the university had a very small number of students, and they were predominantly Presbyterians from Northern Ireland. So it was only in 1907 that in fact the bishops sort of backed off and realized that actually they were doing their flock, as they would call them in those days, a great disservice, and the university opened its doors to all. But it's interesting that it's still technically a non-denominational university. There is actually a small Catholic church on the grounds, but it's not owned by the university. In order for that to happen, the university had to agree to sell a site to the church, and so they could establish themselves there. So it's still non-denominational. Those of you who know your Irish geography, you know that I'm from Mayo, by the way. I live in Galway. So we're also the University of Mayo, in the sense that after Galway County, I would say the largest number of students come from County Mayo. And County Mayo is also very well serviced by its own Institute of Higher Education in Castlebar, the Galway Mayo Institute of Technology. But Galway today has 14,000 students. In fact, listening to Deirdre, I thought there were a lot of similarities about the approach and the size and the way the university has developed. We've got 14,000 students today. One figure I think that you'll be surprised about is that 2,800 of them are international students, and 1,000 are from the US. And that is more than any other Irish university. No other Irish university. They're catching up fast because there's a huge push now for international students. We've got 1,000 students from the US at any given time, and quite a number of those are students doing a junior year abroad, so they're not full degree students. The university has 5 colleges, 16 schools, very well established across, I think, all areas, provides the full range of education. In the last decade, perhaps over 15 years, the university has become much more in tune with the needs of its community and with the needs of local industry. And we have seen in the west of Ireland a huge growth in industries in the biosciences and biomedical science. Today there are 25,000 people employed in hinterland in medical devices. The university has hugely invested in its biomedical engineering and biosciences, and I suppose it's been very much part of my job and my privilege with the foundation to put in place a substantial part of the funding to bring that about. And in the last 5 years, we have brought what were 7 separate schools of engineering together into a single college in the finest college of engineering in Ireland in terms of its physical infrastructure. And just a few months ago, our Taoiseach, Mayo man Enda Kenny, opened our new Biosciences Centre, where we have 300 researchers working in biosciences, again in a new bespoke centre, which is very closely linked to the hinterland and to ensuring that the industries have not just the graduates who can help them to grow, but that we remain very close to the developing technologies, and that our research ensures that those industries and that our graduates can match up with anywhere else in the world. Galway is one of 5, or I should say the west of Ireland is one of 5 emerging centres globally for medical device business. And clearly it's in the economic interest of the country to really nurture that, and the university is responding to that by investing very heavily in those sectors. So to explain, I suppose the differences between US and Ireland are also in the sense that in Ireland, the 7 universities in the Republic of Ireland are actually state institutions. They're effectively controlled by the state. The British system is similar, but not as tightly controlled. I would say that Queen's and the University of Ulster do have more flexibility, particularly around budgetary matters and that. So our students pay nowadays a fairly what you would regard over here as a very nominal fee of €2,500, which is an annual registration fee, say something over $3,000. That's very little money in American terms, but it's a lot of money in Irish terms, because 5 years ago they just paid $250. And there is undoubtedly a move in Ireland back to what we once had, which was a full fee paying system, and then there were grants available to students based on economic need. I'm of an age, I've got 2 daughters who went to Trinity College Dublin in the days when we had to pay full fees. Free third level education came in Ireland in the mid-90s, and it's run its course. I think there's a realization that you cannot fund the colleges and the state can't afford to do it. So I suspect that in the coming years we will see increased fees, and almost certainly the introduction of some kind of student loan scheme to help the students. But in my role, I've been involved in this role about 10 years or slightly less. Private money going into universities in Ireland was largely unheard of, I would say, and the offices of advancement, as they're known in the US, in other words, foundations which raise private funds to invest in universities, are relatively new actually in Europe as well. But we're very pleased in Galway and very proud of the fact that in that space of time we've raised around just under €200 million, or about $250 million, primarily to invest on the capital side. We've been doing it, as I said, for 8 to 10 years, and now that we've completed the capital campaign and our campus is as modern as any you will see anywhere in the world in terms of its facilities. It occupies a beautiful site, 300 acres, right along the Corrum, jutting out from the city centre. But as you will know, and my colleagues here will appreciate, that university is not just about gleaming new buildings and laboratories. We'll ultimately be judged on the output from those. So in the foundation, we're now beginning to turn our thoughts to what we're going to do in the future, how we're going to raise funds to ensure that the levels of research and resources are available to the future generations of students, to really ensure that the output from this big capital investment will make a big contribution to our society, and particularly to the west of Ireland in the future. So
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. We have about 35 minutes left in our session time here, so at this time, before we proceed, I'd like to ask if there are any questions that anyone has for our panelists, so we can make sure we answer specific issues that you want to have addressed this morning. Yes, you'll lay you back up there.
How many schools in the United States do you feed from the abroad program?
We have about 20 that we have arrangements with. And they range from, we could have 20 or 30 students from an individual school down to single individuals. The numbers are growing, and we've invested a lot in our international office. And even in brief exchange with Deirdre at the outset, I said we must introduce our people to one another, because we're always looking for new contacts.
Yes.
Do you have any partnerships with community colleges in the U.S.?
No.
Is that no because you're not interested, or because you have a university system only, or because you haven't explored that?
I would say, being honest, I can't answer the question totally frankly, because I'm not familiar with the reasons why the university would not have explored that, but we have a university system, so it's probably has not been really explored, but it's something that I can certainly find out some more information about and feed back to anybody who wants more information.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm coming from the high school level, and the students that are in the room, they're involved with college preparatory schools, and our students take ACTs and SATs to get into the universities. Explain to me, on the Irish side, are the leaving certs, are the students, are they put into career tracks somewhat, as a leaving cert on the Irish side? Because our students being college ready, or students that would be going on to a Lorraine community or a community college, maybe are still trying to find what my career is and where am I going. In Ireland, you should go into medical, you should go into with your leaving certs?
Well, the Irish system is quite different, and I'm sure my academic colleagues here understand it, that, as I understand the United States, most professions go to graduate school. And in Ireland, for example, with us, you can decide at leaving cert level that you want to do engineering and come in and do a 4-year engineering degree course. Or you can join our College of Medicine, which is a 6 or 7 year, depending on the stream you take, and come in at, it's age 17, straight from the leaving certificate. There is, for example, in medicine, there's a growing trend towards postgraduate medicine. And we, in conjunction with the University of Limerick, the University of Limerick has a postgraduate medical school. We do the undergraduate, which has far bigger numbers. But both UCD and UCC and Trinity have all started postgraduate schools of medicine. I mean, I can't comment. I think that's a trend. In business, for example, the UCD has a large graduate business school in the Smurfit School. A lot of people in Ireland would, and I'm giving a sort of a personal view here, would feel that the pressure to decide on a career at the leaving cert level is not a good system. And it forces people often to do courses, because if you're familiar with the system, all the Irish universities have a common application system. All the courses are pooled. Everybody sitting at the leaving cert nominates the courses they want to do, and it's really dictated by supply and demand. So the courses that are most demand have the highest number of points in the leaving cert, in medicine, for example. And that often leads to people making wrong choices. There would even be family pressures. If you get 600 points, you must do medicine. After 10 or 15 years of this, we're seeing a very high fallout rate of medical doctors leaving the profession. People, because they went there because they made the grade, as it were, rather than necessarily because of it.
So if I could add to that, from a high school student perspective and looking at career choices, one of the new pieces of legislation that passed in Ohio that it goes into effect actually in this next year is around something called College Credit Plus, which takes what had been post-secondary enrollment options and dual enrollment and all of the high school programs and really looks at how can you create those greater linkages between the high schools, K-12, and higher education, and to actually have pathways for high school students to pursue that are at the 15 and 30 credit hours. And so one of the things that we've done at Lorraine is have come up with 7 different career pathways that students can begin to explore while they're in high school that counts for college credit. And a part of it, in fact, we just had a conversation this past week with some of the folks at the Board of Regents, is looking at what are some of the concepts and ideas that can really try to connect students to explore their career ideas while they're in high school. One of the recommendations that we provided, and it's something that we've been doing for the past several years, we actually developed a course that is around career development that goes into 17 high schools so that students are really doing that deeper dive to try to, and it has assessments as a part of it, it has opportunities for them to, shadow and that kind of thing, come out to our campus, meet with faculty who are in those professions, but it's part of the integration of the curriculum at the high school level. And we've had fabulous feedback on that as part of that career choice, because oftentimes, and this really leads to what Deidre was referencing in terms of the access affordability, but then there's the completion side of it. And so having the opportunity for students to explore, yet at the same time not take too many excess credit hours that aren't applicable toward perhaps what a degree may be. Internships and co-ops are huge pieces, and I know through the Board of Regents there have also been a number of tremendous investments to try to, again, create those linkages that also tie back then to the economic needs of the labor force and the employers. So kind of looking more systemically across that, but more direct experiences for students in high school, most definitely.
I think this is a very important question you raised. A couple of weeks back I was addressing 500 high school career counselors and other people for the some of the sister institutions from Kent and Bowling Green. And there's no doubt that in every parent's mind is, will my kid get a job? And the past recession has shown us everything from things we never encountered before, like unemployed lawyers, all the way through to people wondering what they got to the end, the large amount of money that their parents or the student debt led to. I was kidding with a counselor and I said, well, when I started at Queen's University, I had no idea what I wanted to be, so see what happens, you end up as a provost. You have a perfect example of what happens when you don't know what your career choice is going to be. I think I just never wanted to leave a university. There's no doubt that all of us, community colleges, private public universities, are all focused on it, because whilst we're not purely about jobs, at the end of the day, we're about educating the whole person, their social, their moral, all those other kind of developments, as well as their intellectual development. People want a job. And we have to pay more and more attention. And I think we're getting much better at it and tracking people, and Lord knows there's every kind of software that now helps us do that. What we were very good at in the past was telling people what they couldn't be, And I'm sorry, you failed pre-calc 3 times. I don't think you're going to become a pediatrician. Or you can't pass chemistry. I don't think you're going to cut it as a nurse. But we weren't very good at saying, however, Mary, I've been looking at your transcript here and the things, and you really seem to have an orientation to sort of have you thought up, because if you studied this term of the pathways and what we now call degree maps is really trying to, you hear things like boutique medicine and personalized medicine. We really need to treat the students as individuals and look at their profile and see what their aptitudes and their orientation are, and help them along the way in doing just that. And this has got to happen at all levels. Just over 2 years ago,